Hey everyone, today I'm going to be swatching and showing you guys a makeup tutorial of the Kylie Cosmetics Grinch eyeshadow palette. So if you want to see swatches and the eye look I did, just keep watching. Seen swatches of this palette, let's talk about it. As soon as I saw this palette, I know I wanted it because I am a big fan of the Grinch. I have been since I was a kid. My favorite Christmas movie is the 2003 or 2000 How the Grinch Stole Christmas, the live action one. That is my favorite. For me, it is not Christmas if I don't watch Elf and the Grinch. So when I saw this, I knew I was gonna have to pick it up, and I'm so glad I did. It is stunning. The quality is amazing. Unfortunately, the launch was a mess. They sold out within 3 minutes. It was insane. And the restock, the little mini restock, they didn't even restock the palette. So I'm really sorry to all of you who did want this palette, because it probably won't be restocked because of licensing issues, which is always a bummer. I definitely think they should have ordered more units to make sure that everyone could get them, and I think Kylie Cosmetics needs to make up their website so that bots can't go buy out everything, because that's pretty much what happened, is that bots bought out and then lots of people were scalping and charging so much money for just the palette alone. There were so many things in the collection that I wanted, but due to money issues, I literally just bought the palette and I'm quite happy with that. I wanted the highlighter and the blush, but I knew I didn't need either of them, and so I just bought the palette and I'm so happy I did. This palette is stunning. I mean, for the most part, they are very natural shades. But then, of course, you do have pops of green, which is obviously what draws me in. Honestly, when I first saw the color story, it was there could have been more green, or a yellow, sort of the color of the Grinch's eyes. But regardless, I knew I wanted to get my hands on this because of the sentimental value I would have with this palette. It's the Grinch, so of course I'm gonna keep it in my collection and love it, and I'm so happy I got it. But this palette, quality wise, is pretty good. I did use mainly the green shades in my look, which I really enjoyed them. The shade Who Pudding is this stunning pastel green with some shimmer in it. It's a matte, but it's a sort of sequin shade. Like that one a lot, actually. It was very pigmented for a pastel, blended out nicely, and I had no issues. Same with this dark olive brown. Some people had issues with this, but I didn't have any issues, so that's great. The shades that I didn't use but swatched, honestly, some of the shimmers were very lackluster. So this Dahu Dore's shade is this pinky rose gold. It is very, very sheer. You really need to build it up. Really need to build it up. I had to build up this swatch so much, and even then you can see how sheer it is. So, not a big fan of that. I think that's one reason why I'm not the biggest fan of Kylie Cosmetics shadows, is that a lot of time they're lackluster and not incredibly pigmented. So, that shade is definitely not one of my favorites. And then this, greeny gold also is just, it really had to be built up, and it just like that, it's fine, but you can even see that just by touching it, it's still quite sheer. So I don't know, like, it's just very sheer, and in my opinion, I don't want shimmers to be sheer. I think that is dumb, but it is what it is. For the browns, I really like Who's Who. It's that sort of like mustardy brown, like baby poop color. Love that shade. I also really love Jinglers because it's like a gray brown, and I just think it's stunning. Like, it's this, if it would focus, why are you not focusing? It's just a stunning gray brown shade, and I'm really excited to use that. The other two like shimmers actually swatched fine. The two, like the gold and the brown, they swatched fine. They were very pigmented, so no issues there. The shade Mount Crumpet, now that shade is a chunky mess. Like, on the inner corner it applies great, but like, it's so hard for you guys to see like the shift in it. It's just like a almost clear base with a ton of like little like glittery specks in it. It's very like chunky, but I like using it on the inner corner, so that's what I did. It's stunning. It's just not a shade that I would personally use on the lid or anything. I'm definitely not a fan of the formula of these, like the last can of Who Hash. I hate the formula. It's one of those like really chunky metallics, and you really have to like blend it into your skin to get it to not look like a chunky mess. And I hate these shades. ColourPop also does shades like this, and I just hate it. Like, instead, do a very intense metallic rather than these like chunky eyeshadows that, like, while they are pigmented when you blend them in, it's just like, why? Like, why do you need a formula like this? It's just not for me. So now let's go through the little mini makeup tutorial I did on the eye look. So the first shade that I took was Who Pudding, and I just blended that all over, like, in the crease and the outer corner just to kind of get a base going. I put the shade Mount Crumpet on my inner corner. I ended up using a highlighter over it because it just wasn't as intense as I wanted. Then I deepened that up with Green and Mean. I then put the last can of Who Hash eyeshadow all over the lid and kind of blended it out into my crease a little bit. Like I said, the shade was pretty chunky, so it took a bit to blend it out. To deepen the look, I did add Stocking Full of Coal, which is that green sort of brown shade, just deepen up the outer corner. And then on the lower lash line, I just took all the matte greens and the dark brown, and I used that on my lower lash line. And then I applied mascara and finished up my face makeup, and then we were all set. I really do like how the look turned out, and I enjoyed the palette. Like, there are definitely shades that I'm not in love with, but the look I enjoy. Formula-wise, this is definitely not my favorite palette. Like, it just isn't. Like, there's so many, like, just like the shimmers and stuff. It's just not my favorite formula, but the mattes perform really well, so that makes me happy. And I mean, it's the Grinch, so regardless, I'm gonna be happy with it. It does come with a mirror, which then, you know, you have Grinch's face. I think for once I am gonna be keeping the box just because, I mean, it's kind of awesome. But yeah, you get 16 shades, I believe, and most of them are matte, but then you do get like a decent array of like shimmers and stuff. For me, honestly, I would probably, since I don't think I'm gonna get use out of like Dahudoras like on the lid or anything, I would probably like try to use that as a blush because I feel like it would be a really beautiful blush. And then I would use this as a highlighter because it's just one of those like white greeny shades, so I would definitely use that as a highlighter. This palette did retail for $40 US, which isn't bad for like a Kylie Cosmetics collaboration product. I had no issues with that. I was just happy I got it. People are really being horrible and like asking for hundreds of dollars just for the palette alone, and it's like, how sad of a person do you have to be to do that? Like, honestly, like, that's just so sad. Like, so many people who would be in love with this palette want it but can't get it. so I wasn't even sure I was going to do this video, but I decided I wanted to, just in case they ever do a restock, or just in case any of you did manage to get your hands on the palette, or if you managed to get your hands on it in the future. That way you can, you know, see my thoughts on it. I do like it, but it's not, other than it being the Grinch, I would have probably still bought it for the greens and like the gray and that like yellowy brown that I love, but it's not a necessity in my opinion. Like, I'm sure there are other palettes in my collection that have the same sort of shades. I just love the Grinch, which is why I personally bought it and fought tooth and nail to get it. I feel bad because one of my best friends like tried to get it, but it sold out, and it was just a mess. And I tried to get it for her during the second launch, but of course it didn't launch. It was a mess. So I am happy I got my hands on it, but I just hope that anyone who didn't get it can get your hands on it, or you'll feel a little bit better knowing it's not like it's the best palette. I just personally like it because of the fact that it is the Grinch, and like the mattes are good, but I don't know, the shimmers and stuff, they're just not it in my opinion. Like, I do kind of like this shade, but I just wish the formula was different. Same with that shade. Like, I just wish the formulas were a little bit different. Maybe more so on the metallic side instead of the weird side. But, I mean, I'm happy I got it, and I will never declutter this because of the fact it's the Grinch, and it has a ton of sentimental value to me. But it is definitely not like the most amazing palette I've ever tried, so keep that in mind. I do want to do a look using like, maybe doing like this brown all over the lid and blend it into the crease, and then on the lower lash line doing like the gray brown, and then like incorporating this like reddy brown, because I do like that as well. So I've kind of like, it does give me a lot of like different options. I don't know, the formula just isn't the best, but at least the mattes are good, so that's what I care about. Like, I'm not too worried about the shimmers because for the most part, I'd just be using the mattes in this anyway. Let me know down below which shade is your favorite. I'm really curious. I always like knowing what shades you guys think are the best. Thank you guys so much for watching this video. If you enjoyed, make sure you subscribe, comment down below any videos you'd like to see me do. Go follow my Instagram and TikTok, Makeup by Tasha XO, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.